Right now, over 150 ships are anchored in the ocean, just waiting. They can't move forward, and going back means losing millions of dollars. All of them are stuck because one stretch of water, 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, this is the Strait of Hormuz, and for the last few weeks, it has become the most dangerous place on the earth. The strait sits between Iran to the north and Oman to the south. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. And now here's the thing about its size. 21 miles sounds like a lot, right? But the actual shipping lane, just two corridors, each only 2 nautical miles wide. That's it. And that's the bottleneck. Every oil tanker leaving Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait or UAE must pass through those 4 miles. There is no backdoor, no shortcut or no real plan B. Under the normal circumstances, 20 million barrels of oil passes through the strait every single day. That's about 20% of the world's total supply. Saudi Arabia sends the most, about 37% of all crude oil through this route. Iraq, UAE and Kuwait follows close behind. But oil isn't even the full story. Qatar, the world's largest LNG exporter, ships 93% of its gas through this strait. The UAE sends about 96% of its LNG the same way. Together, that's nearly 19% of the global LNG trade through a one narrow corridor. And now think about where all of this goes. Mostly Asia, China, India, Japan, South Korea. Bangladesh gets nearly 2/3 of its LNG from the ship passing here. On the other hand, the United States imports only 7% through this route. Europe is bit more exposed, especially for gas. But the countries that feel this most are not the ones who making the decisions. And this tension in the strait isn't new. Back in the 1980s, during the Iran-Iraq war, both sides attacked each other's oil tanker in the same waters. It became so dangerous that US Navy had to escort ships through the strait, even flying American flags on the Kuwaiti tankers to protect them. Iran's message even back then was simple. If we can't export oil freely, neither can anyone else. That message never really disappeared. It just kept getting louder. Now coming back to 2026, after the joint US and Israeli military strikes on Iran, including the killing of Iran's supreme leader, the situation escalated very quickly. Iran's Revolutionary Guard issued warning to the ships. Attacks on the merchant vessels began almost immediately. By the early March 2026, there were 21 confirmed attacks on the commercial ships. Tanker traffic dropped by nearly 70%. Qatar halted LNG production and declared force majeure. That same day, European gas prices jumped almost 70%. LNG tanker rates rose over 40% in just one session. Now crude oil is costing above $100 per barrel, and Iran didn't even fully close the strait. Instead, they said ships from the US, Israel and their allies are not allowed. Everyone else negotiate. This isn't just a military action, it is a calculated economic pressure. Iran doesn't need to win a war to win this situation. They just need to make insurance companies nervous. Because the moment underwriters start flagging the strait as high risk, shipping costs spike. And they did. Or risk premiums jumped overnight. Some vessels simply refused to use the route, not because of an attack, but because of the possibility of one. And that's the real leverage. Not the missiles, the uncertainty. Iran has spent decades perfecting this. Small, fast attack boats that can swarm a super tanker before a naval escort can respond. Mines that can place quietly and only discovered after the damage is done. Missiles positioned along the coastline, turning the entire strait into a potential kill zone, at least on a paper. The US Navy can neutralize all of this eventually. But the eventually is doing a lot of work here. Clearing mines alone can take weeks, and every week of uncertainty means something else. Another week of $100 oil, rising food prices, and growing economic pressure in countries that have no seat at the table. The countries hurting the most right now have no military presence in the strait, no say in the strikes, and no role in the diplomacy. Bangladesh is paying more just to keep its lights on, and Pakistan is already rationing fuel. Japanese manufacturers watching their profit margins shrink in the real time. All because two countries thousands of miles away went to war. And that's what makes the Strait of Hormuz different. Whoever controls it doesn't just control oil, they control the cost of living for half the planet. Iran knows this and they have always known this. The strait isn't their last option, it's their first move, and right now they are playing it slowly and deliberately. So what do you think? With the ongoing attacks on the major oil and gas facilities and tighter control over the Strait of Hormuz, can Iran create enough economic pressure to force the war to end on their terms, or this will push the US and Israel towards even stronger military action? Let me know that in the comment section, and if you find this video interesting, make sure to like, share and subscribe.